Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some items from Picket Fence. I'm using the Secret Garden A2 cover plate. I'm using the layered fauna playful foxes and these little, like, are they logs? Stumps and logs? Den. One of them is a den die. That makes sense. Foxes, dens. Yeah, that checks. And then the other one is a log die. And so we're going to be doing this little kind of winter scene with these cute little foxes. And I have a little, the dies are small. Like they're little foxes. They're adorable. But I did not realize when I sat down to play with this, I mean, clearly you can see that there's like a body to build on, but I didn't realize that all of the parts actually cut out individually. And, so even because they were so cute, I pushed on, even though I don't love the finicky bits, and I discovered a little hack and I wanted to share it with you guys because it worked really well for me and I'm hoping that it works really well for you. So I have cut my A2 size Secret Garden out of white cardstock. I'm going to cut it out of vellum cardstock, and then I'm going to cut it a third time out of it's kind of like a royal blue. It's Cosmic Sky from Spellbinders. Really, really pretty. So I knew that my foxes were going to be kind of like a rusty orangey brown kind of color, and so I thought the blue would work really nice with this. Plus it's a little winter scene, so the blue makes sense, right? So before we get too far into it, because the first part of the hack is coming up, I do want to tell you Picket Fence is running a sale, and they're doing like mystery bundles. They're really, really great. Let's just talk about what's happening here. So here's where I first realized, as I'm taking the dies apart, that they're all separate. Because I go to poke it out, and I'm thinking I'm just going to poke out a fox that's like embossed, and like the little ear pieces fall out and the little face piece falls out. And I'm like, are these all individual pieces? And you know what? It totally makes sense. Like if you're a person who likes to cut your things out of different colored cardstock, legit makes sense. But I'm a person who Copic colors mine for the most part. So I was like, I don't want to mess with all this. But like I said, they're adorable. So I pushed through. So here I cut them a second time because now I'm prepared. And you can see that they stay together for the most part on the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to fit them back into the die. This part was relatively easy to do. I did have a little bit of trouble with some of the smaller pieces, like the ears or the nose. Like that did take me a little bit more time. I didn't use my crystal katana, but I feel like that probably would have been a benefit. I currently cannot find it. I used it earlier today, and now I do not know what has happened to it. My desk has eaten it, as it does with some craft supplies. So I made do with my tweezers, and for the most part, I was able to just fit them back in. This is step one of the hack. So anyway, back to the Picket Fence sale. They're doing mystery boxes, fantastic deals. So they, like, whether you like dies or stencils or their pastes are great. We're going to use some pastes in this card, or you just want a little bit of everything. They have, like, you spend $20 and get $60 worth of product. You spend $40 and get $135 worth of product. So as long as you don't buy the same, like they have 3 for dies. So they have like A, B, and C. If you buy A, B, and C, you will not get any repeats. So as long as you don't buy 2 A's or 2 B's, you won't get any repeats. And it's a really, really great deal. And I always like mystery boxes because it's exciting to see what you get. But anywho, so here's the second part of the hack. This is a multi-step hack. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking low-tack tape. This is pixie tape. This is now like kind of my go-to tape. And I am putting it right over the backs of the dies and these die cuts. Once I've done that, then I'm flipping it back over, making sure everything is kind of pressed in place after I remove the die. And really the only one that moved on me was just that little sleeping fox, and he just moved a little bit. But the other ones, everything stayed. Like they were good. I pressed them down firmly. And now I have them sitting on this tape that I will be able to just color them right on. Oh, this one's face did come off. Oh, yeah, because I used the pokey tool. So when this happened, this is a little trick that worked for me. I just put the die back in place. I poked everything out through the holes that are there, and everything stuck back down, and I didn't have any further issues. This worked. This hack worked for me, I would say, 3/4 of the time. Like 2 out of 3 times, it worked pretty well. So, well, it worked perfectly twice, and one I had a little bit of an issue with. But considering how tiny the little pieces parts are and how long it would have taken me to build them on top of each other, like, I'm not mad about it. So now I chose the E30s family because this is definitely a really warm brown, and I do not know why. I truly wish that I knew why. I wonder if I filled them wrong, honestly. But for some reason, the 39 is lighter than the 37. And I do not know why that is. It should not be that way. So I'm wondering if maybe when I refilled them, if I made an error. It's totally possible. I am a person and I make mistakes all the time. But anyway, I just did kind of a 3-color blend. Originally, I went with an E35, but it was not warm enough for me. So I went back in with a YR24, which is a YR is a red orange. That's the orange family. And I went right over top of the coloring, and then that just switched to my lightest color. And this way, I had really good, like this orangish brown color going on with the foxes, which I thought matched pretty perfectly. And then I knew that they were going to kind of pop off of my blue background. And I was really happy with the color contrast and the way that they look together. So as far as the shadows go, I'm not really doing anything too fancy. I'm not even coloring it as if I have a light source. I'm basically any area that is tucked behind, like this sleeping fox, his belly is tucked under, it's going to be darker. His tail is wrapped around in the front, so the top portion of his tail is going to be lighter. Lighter with the top of the head, darker around the ears where they're meeting the head. We've talked about this before in previous videos. Any point where two things meet or any point where one thing overlaps another, that is where you're going to have shadows. Do I think these foxes are... I mean, they're really, really cute, so I don't think any kind of shading that you do to them is going to make them look any less cute. So just do whatever you're able to do. It's so that you have a card that you're happy with. So again, my YR24 is going to be my lightest color. This does sometimes take a little bit of blending. Like for the body, I did have to go over it a time or two to get it where I was happy with the way it was blending. But ultimately, I really did not have any issues. Normally, I tell you guys do your lightest color first. That's still really good advice. I should probably take my own advice. I didn't. I was excited to color the foxes, and I did not think about the fact that I was going to have to color their faces and the tips of their tails. So I went in with a W3. I chose the warmer grays because I'm using warmer browns. And I just did a little bit of shadow under their faces, especially for the sleeping fox because his head is tucked down. And then I blended that out with a W1. I'm going to give them a little bit of a rosy cheek with an R20. That's also the same color that I colored in their ears with. And then for their eyes and nose, I just used straight black. If you don't trust yourself to do it with a Copic marker, you could absolutely do this with a fine liner. It would be fine. Or if you're a person who likes everybody's different, just because I get flustered putting together small pieces doesn't mean everybody does. And you absolutely could cut these out of colored cardstock. If you have not been over to the Picket Fence website, I would highly recommend, if you're looking at picking up these dies, checking out the samples that were made because the Picket Fence design team made amazing samples with these little foxes. They're adorable. So now let's move on to our den and our little logs here. The cutout portions of the center, I plan to put little foxes in, and so I chose to color them dark. There is embossed detail in both of these, and so I pretty much just followed that to put down my darkest color. This is just a lot of flicking. There isn't a right or a wrong way to do this. I know typically when a tree is cut down, you can see the ring of the bark on the outside edge, so that's what I'm putting in here for this little log that's going to lay down. And then again, I'm adding the darkest color where their embossed details are, and then I'm just going to work out towards my lightest color. From here, I'm really just kind of adding flicks of color. If there was a large gap between the embossed detail, I maybe put in a little flick of this, what is this, E27. I also went around the edge of both the inside of the die of like the hole in the center and the outside, because there is going to be a little bit of shadow as this is going to be inset. So I did take that kind of around the middle because I knew for that one, because it was the inside of the tree, it was going to be much, much lighter. And I didn't want it to be light right up against that big dark, I mean, it just looks like a blob, but it's actually the inside of the tree, the log portion. I did follow some of the embossed detail around for the rings with my second midtone, which is an E25. And then from here, everything just got filled in with the E23. The lightest color is always what brings everything together to really start making, like, it just pops with that texture. So if you're unhappy with your coloring, hang tight till you get to the lightest color and you might surprise yourself. So that is going to be it for the coloring. I'm just going to show you kind of how these fit together. And then these will go behind my little foxes that I will be tucking inside. So cute. So cute. So in order to, I've used these dies before. I don't know if you know that. The Secret Garden, I did like a day scene and a night scene. And those were there. I like the die. I think it's a great die. So this time I wanted to change it up a little bit and I wanted to give it a little snowy foreground. That's that snow looked green there for a second, didn't it? Yeah, it's because I grabbed the wrong brush. So it does have a little bit of green to it. I went over it with the speckled egg and then the shaded lilac. Ultimately, that portion, that one corner that looks pretty green, ends up with a fox over it, so it's not noticeable. And then I am just trimming where it makes sense so that I could get some little snowy cascading hills. And then this will be the part that sits in front that I put my little foxes on so that it looks like there is a kind of snow mound that's leading back into these trees. Now, I can't just have one snow mound in my scene. You guys know that. I have to have two. So I just found, this is just like a scrap piece of cardstock that I've been doing some die cutting out of. I just cut myself a general hill shape. And then instead of doing both the speckled egg and the shaded lilac, I'm just going to do the shaded lilac for this one. And then I'm going to tuck it behind the trees. So here is the second part of the hack. It involves the tape again. Take your low-tack tape, rub it, like burnish it right over the top of your die cut pieces. And then I like to pick, like when I pick up the tape, remove the tape from the back, by the way. And then when I pick it up, I like to remove the tape at kind of like an angle. I found that that worked the best for me. And then I'm going to put down liquid glue. Liquid glue is important. You need the wiggle room for this hack to work. So put down your liquid glue, pick up your tape, try to line it up as best you can to pick up that. And then when you flip it over, you'll be able to line up the body with the coloring, like with those little teeny tiny die cut pieces. And again, peeled my tape at an angle, just like they recommend you do when you're doing like vinyl with the Cricut. And the whole thing stuck to the body all at one time. I didn't have to mess with any of those pieces. I was able to stick down the whole fox in one go. This is the one that was like the, Meatloaf says 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's how I feel about it. This one is the one that gave me a little bit of trouble. And it was actually his front leg that gave me a hard time. And then I kept losing it. I was like, wait, is his leg in? Is his leg not in? Is it in? Is it not? You're going to see. So anyway, again, like peeling it up at kind of like a diagonal to make sure all the pieces stay on there. There's the first time the leg goes. Now I feel like I've lost it. I'm looking for it. Found the leg. Found it. The leg is MIA. So I am pushing it back into the tape, or so I thought. Actually just dropped it again. And then finally was able to get it in there and push it in. This is still not going to be enough, by the way. So when I pull it up, again, pulling up the whole thing, except for that leg. by the way. It fell off again. So now, again, liquid glue. I'm going to take my piece of tape with all of my finicky little die cut bits. I'm going to place that right over the die cut body, move the die cut body around until everything is lined up, press it all into place, and then remove my tape again at that same diagonal. And then here's where I realized the leg is gone again. The leg's gone again. It does not want to be there. So I was able to put it in with my tweezers, and it was not a huge deal, except for all the times I lost it. And then this last one, I will do the same thing with and each time I'm using the same piece of tape, by the way. Like, the pixie tape is amazing. It's my favorite. I was on the hunt for a really long time for one that I liked, and then I found one that I loved. So very grateful for that. And then I'm going to pick this up and then do the same thing. This time I did not lose any body parts. My fox stayed fully intact. And I was able to stick him down as well. So that little, like, I used it because they were so tiny and I didn't want to mess around with them. But I will definitely be trying this to see if it works with bigger die cuts as well. Because it made my life so much easier. Like, I wasn't even mad about doing the die cuts. And that's really saying something for me, because typically I'm mad about it. I like how they look in the end, so I suffer through, but I am mad about it. And look at those little foxes. They're adorable. So now we have to move on to doing the extra little detail things. You guys know how I love the details. So here I am using... I've used this before. This is not new. This is the Paper Glaze Twinkle Lights Clear. The Paper Glaze Luxe Twinkle Lights Clear. And if you put it on really thin, it's just kind of glittery. If you put it on thicker, it does maintain that little bit of whiteness. And so I am, for the most part, going to be putting it on thin, on top of my little snow hills here, and then also in the trees. But in the trees, I put it on thicker so that it would look like there was snow that was like caught in between the branches. Oh, I didn't want it to be full snow. It was more like icicle, like frosted trees, if you will. And so I was going through and I was doing it and I was applying it and I was loving the way that it was looking. But then I noticed when I was moving the cardstock, sometime I lost my snow that had built up. And so what I found was, and I tried it a couple different ways. Here in a second, you're going to see me lift it up and see if I can just like scrape it, like just scrape it directly into the little crevice of the branches. That didn't work, by the way. But you never know unless you try. But what I found was if I spread it down and then I scooted the cardstock up into it, I had a better chance of picking up a large section of the paste that I would look like it was snow sitting in there. Now, I am getting glitter pretty much all over the rest of the trees. That's totally fine with me because it's going to dry, clear, and then just leave the glitter behind. So while that is set aside to dry, I am going to go in and do some ink blending for my background. That prize ribbon is pretty much a spot-on match for the cosmic sky. And so I wanted that to be my main color, but I didn't want it to be dark all over. So I am going in with, what is this? Help me. Salty Ocean. It's my favorite blue of the distresses, and I couldn't even remember the name. Kelly, get it together. But anyway, so I took it down 3/4 of the way. The prize ribbon I'm taking down about half, because you have to remember that the die cut piece, the cover plate, there is quite a wide frame around it. So we're not actually going to see the top or the side edges. We're only going to see the center. So once I had the prize ribbon down, I went in with the chip sapphire, and that I only brought down just a little bit in the middle. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it all again. If you wanted a really dark color, I would recommend using the pouncers. But I wanted something that was super light, that was kind of like seeing through the trees into maybe like this little field filled with snow or something like that. I wanted it to look lighter through the trees. So, you know I love shine, okay? That's no secret. I love the shiny items. And so after we're done doing this, I am going to add some quote-unquote snow with the, I always call this by the wrong name, liquid white snowflake. Liquid White Snowflake. From Picket Fence. It's their paper splatter. And it's super shiny. It's just kind of like using perfect pearls. If you have perfect pearls, you could supplement that. That would work as well. And then I'm also going to use my opaque white Copic ink, and that's going to give me the true white. You, again, could substitute this with white acrylic paint. So I'm just going to spatter that into the background, and then we're going to start the building. So, have you noticed my videos have been going up so late? So late. It's like I'm half on vacation is really what, because like my son is off of school and my daughter's daycare has been closed. So we're like half and half. I'm half working, half momming, half getting our house together, half celebrating the holidays. Like, it's just been wild around here. So I still do want to put the videos up, but as I told you guys earlier in the year, like, I try to stick to a schedule, but sometimes it's not great. Hopefully once the beginning of the year starts, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program. Let me tell you what I did here. So here, in order to further the idea that there's snow sitting on top of the branches, I layered my blue over my white, but I adhered them offset. So the white is higher than the blue, which is giving the impression of this snow sitting on top of the branches. And then also it's, you can still see the glitter because the white is behind. For the vellum, I actually flipped it over, so I'm using the negative, and this is just going to help my tree, like my forest, have a fuller look, because you'll see the little vellum trees in the background, but they aren't going to be enough that they are like a show stealer. And this just adds another little element where you can see the vellum through the other branches, you can see it through the opening, so it's just going to make it look fuller. And then I'm going to trim off that excess white. And I think there was a little bit on the side that I had to grab too. Yeah, there that is. So then once I have that, I will adhere my snow mounds, and then we will put it on our inked base. I have to give that time to dry because we did all the spatters. So anyway, it has been a little bit difficult to maintain a schedule around here because everything's just, like that week in between Christmas and New Year's. Are you even responsible for the things that you do? I don't think so. I don't think that you should be, because nobody even knows what day it is. Like, we're all just surviving. And so come January, like, hopefully we'll be more on a schedule. There's some other things in January that I am, like, beginning of the new year, looking to change as well. So we'll get into that as we get closer. But I'm very excited for what the new year has to bring. I am extraordinarily blessed because I have been doing this now as my full-time job for almost 2 years. And like, we're making it, guys. We're really making it. I can't believe it. Like, we're really doing it. We're doing the thing. And that makes me so happy and so grateful that God has given me the opportunities to work with such wonderful companies like Picket Fence, that it just makes me super grateful, because I know not everybody has those opportunities to be at home, with their kids, to make a living doing something that they love. And I do. And a large part of that is because of you, because you guys come, because you watch the videos, because you engage with me, because you want to see what I'm making and you help support me. And so I'm very, very grateful for you, and the time, because time is your most precious commodity, and you're choosing to spend it with me. And there are no words to tell you. Thank you so much. Just thank you so much. So let's go back to the card, before I start crying, because I'm an emotional one. I wanted the foxes to be tucked into the log, and then I wanted it to be tucked into the den as well. So I've glued the foxes so that they're kind of popping out, but I still need that dark color behind them. So once I have the foxes in, I am adding glue to the back of the fox, and then I am fitting in that piece behind them. Originally, I thought I would put my little sleeping fox on top of the tree, but I actually liked him at the base of the tree. It just looked more balanced. So I moved him them down. And then I am going to use so many different kinds of foam tape in this video, you guys, because I have so many different layers of cardstock. I have so many different dies. So what is this? The snow bank in the front has an extra layer of cardstock than the one in the back. And so I had to use 2 different styles of foam tape so that would be flush. Thankfully, I only had to use one for this fox that's inside the downed log. I was able to just use one for that. And then for the little sleeping fox, I put some foam tape under like his tushy and his tail. And then I just used glue to glue him to the den. For the sentiment, I went kind of back and forth about what to do. I didn't want to take away from the scene. And actually the set that I used is like an Easter set. But it had this "Hello, my sweet friend" in it. And I thought that was really cute because these foxes are sweet. This is "Friends Give the Best Hugs." That's where I use the sentiment from. And it's very Easter and it's adorable. It could be Valentine's Day. Maybe. Both. Who knows? But anywho, so I ended up trimming it so that the hello and the comma was on one, and then the "my sweet friend" was another. For the hello, I was able to just use Picket Fence's wide foam tape because there was nothing underneath it. It was just the base. But for the "my sweet friend," the friend portion overhangs this tree, which is how many? 1, 2, and I guess I'll call vellum a half. 2.5 pieces of cardstock. And so I used the thicker one for the one that would be closest to the hello, and I used a slightly thinner one for the one that would sit over the tree. Normally, I wouldn't do that. I would find a different way to position it, but I tried a bunch of different ways and I didn't like the sentiment pretty much anywhere else. So I had to do what I had to do. For the gemstones, these are also from Picket Fence. This is called Sands of Time. And it's like very neutral gems. There's some gold ones, there's some iridescent, and there's some kind of like silver ones. I picked out some of the iridescent ones. And then just to bring the whole scene together, I am going to put a little shadow. I didn't have a dark enough blue that was as muted as the speckled egg. So what I ended up doing was using a B41, which is pretty desaturated, but then I put a C3 under it, like a cool gray, to give it a little bit more depth. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So I hope that little trick hack thing helps you guys out with your layering dies or your tinier dies. Thank you so much for your time. Don't forget to head over and check out their sale if you want some really good deal on mystery boxes. I always appreciate you. Again, thank you for your time, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.